Hello, I'm Elise Labott, and today we're talking about the evolution of cryptocurrency. The global digital currency market is already valued at roughly $1.85 trillion. But along with crypto's rise comes risk and uncertainty. To discuss the future of crypto, I'm joined by Moe Vela. He's the executive producer of the show Unicorn Hunters. Mo, great to have you.
Great to be with you, Elise. Thanks for having me.
Now, you've called crypto the greatest wealth disruptor of our time, but I think the concept is still a bit of an enigma to many of us. So, talk to us about your take on the current state of the market.
Well, I think it's evolving, Elise. As in all things in life, it's evolving,
Right.
right? And it's still, as you point out, relatively new to a lot of people. Only 16% of Americans are trading and exchanging in crypto, but it is here to stay, and it's the new frontier, and it's the next generation of currency, in my opinion. So the current state is it's evolving. I think there are benefits, tremendous benefits, but there are also tremendous risks and some challenges and obstacles lie ahead.
Now, we've talked about how there's a lot of volatility and risk. So, talk to us about how the market is responding to that.
Well, I think let's first of all identify the risks, right? We see a lack of transparency, we see this anonymity, right? And we see a decentralization. All of them, somebody could argue, have benefits and have positive impact. But by the same token, the market is reacting because those also have some risks. One of the risks we're seeing is the ability of Russia, for example, to circumvent sanctions using crypto because of those dynamics I just mentioned. So we've got to start mitigating those risks, in my opinion. We've got to start addressing those challenges. We got to close those loopholes. It behooves the crypto industry to do that. And I think the market is reacting, and that's why you see the kind of ebb and flow, the roller coaster of Bitcoin and others because of the Russian Ukraine conflict, inflation, and other dynamics.
Right. And we've also seen how the Ukrainians are using crypto for good, kind of taking crypto donations because it's
Yep.
easier and quicker to access those funds. Now, let's talk about Unicorn Hunters. That's a show that attempts to democratize access
Yeah.
to investing. And now the producers have created Unicoin. It's a new coin in that mold. So, talk to us about this next generation coin, Unicoin, and how it's different from the early coins.
Well, the underlying premise of Unicorn Hunters was always to create access, right? As you mentioned, to access to the democratization,
Right.
right, for people to have uh, access to the investment ecosystem, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And that meant everybody. And so, in furtherance of that objective and that vision and mission, we've launched Unicoin because it's a natural progression toward creating that type of access. So now we launched Unicoin. It's in pre-sale. We hope to mint in 2023. And for the first time, you'll be able to actually invest in a crypto securitized coin that will actually be used to create a global innovation fund, Elise, excuse me, and that those funds, these global innovation funds, will be investing in emerging growth companies in various sectors. So with Unicoin, when you buy Unicoin, in essence, you are getting a sliver of a portfolio of emerging growth companies, of an equity stake, I should say, in these emerging growth companies. You get to watch them. It's all transparent. It's centralized. It's completely available to everybody. And so I'm excited about that.
And also I think it has the kind of transparency and like lower risk than we've talked about. So talk to us about the future of crypto and what we should be looking for.
Well, I think you're going to see more like Unicoin, right? Asset backed, dividend paying, minimizing the risk, mitigating the risks, right?
Right.
And so I think you're going to see more like ours, right? Where you have transparency. We have mitigative systems in place. It's centralized in the private sector. I am not suggesting I'm advocating for centralization in the public sector. That's a whole nother discussion for people that are much more expert than I am. But in the private sector, this centralization, I think, is going to be a positive impact. And we're already subject to regulatory environment, so we don't fear the president's executive order and any regulation that might result from that. That's what I think the future of crypto looks like: centralized, transparent, mitigative efforts in place to mitigate the risks, like Unicoin, and I think subject to regulation of some kind, at least.
Yeah, well, as you say, crypto is here to stay, and it's important to make sure that investors are protected from the volatility and risk as this new digital currency is incorporated into global financial markets. Mo Vela, former senior advisor to then Vice President Biden and executive producer of Unicorn Hunters, thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me, Elise.
We'll throw it back now to the Washington Post.